But they did exactly what they deserved. That Daniel Jones walkout was, we're not going to play it because we don't want him to get hurt. Team looked like they had no energy, no juice. And why? You gave up on them.
The conclusion of the Daniel Jones saga is officially here after the New York Giants decided to release him and then follow it up with one of the most embarrassing performances of the year. Daniel Jones has cleared waivers and has chosen his next team. So we're going to break it all down, what it means for the rest of the NFL, why he'd make such a decision. And before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help us get to 1 million subscribers. And now that we get all that out of the way, break! Tyreek Hill just needs 1 yard on Thanksgiving for you to make money on Prize Picks, and here's how to take advantage. First, sign up for Prize Picks and use my promo code Mikerophone to get an additional $50 when you make an entry of $5. Then pick Tyreek Hill to get 1 receiving yard and combine it with another square to get 3 extra money, or 2 squares to 5 extra money. I give away a lot of my picks for free on Instagram at The Flight Mike and on Snapchat Flight Mike Snap, and this past weekend we absolutely crushed it, hitting on 4 of our picks, and a lot of you tailed these picks on Instagram and Snapchat and made money as well. So hurry up and take advantage of this offer. It's only available until Thanksgiving Day. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The New York Giants have had a very embarrassing season, for sure. And I've made a couple of videos on this topic at this point, and you guys know what my stance is on the Giants at this point. On one hand, it doesn't feel good to go on Hard Knocks off season and have clips like this go absolutely viral.
I'm torn, Ed, because I still think he can play and I think he can help us. I didn't want to come in at a number because I really don't have a great idea where the market is. If you want to come back and be a Giant, let's try to make sense. There's a lot of running backs in free agency.
Yeah, but are any potential difference makers really? Like after you watch this film?
Even a clip of your own son begging you to take Jaden Daniels.
Who do you want me to take? Give me a name.
Jaden Daniels. Trade up and get him.
Okay, if Jaden Daniels...
You only get this job once. I'm gonna try to win.
And it didn't look that good for head coach Brian Daboll either. Look at how he quizzed Jaden Daniels on the dry erase board.
Erase the X and make him the Z. Erase the W, make him the X. Erase the T and make him the H. Ready?
Yep.
Gun trolley right, 64 house X in. Give it back to me. Nope, don't look at it.
Oh, you want me?
Give it back to me how we call it.
The whole play?
Yeah.
Gun trolley right, house F in.
Okay, X in.
X in.
That's okay. And then if it's cover 1, what do we want you to do? Probably.
Don't touchdown.
All right, I like that answer.
And probably my favorite clip of all was this faux tough guy act when he's slouched on the couch asking Jaden Daniels, "Do you want to be a New York Giant?"
Let's cut to the chase.
What's up?
Would you want to be here? Would you want to be here? Quarterback for the New York Giants.
Yeah.
Okay, that's first. That's important to me. And you'd feel good about being here.
I feel good.
Okay, that's number 1.
But throughout my analysis of the New York Giants, I didn't really hold these decisions against Joe Schoen. I didn't blame him for not trading up for Jaden Daniels because this team has so many issues that they need to fix, that they can't afford to give up additional draft capital. It does suck because this one missed field goal against the New England Patriots would have put them in striking range for Drake May, who they actively tried to trade up for, but I applaud them for standing pat and selecting Malik Nabers. And in the past, I know the decisions haven't panned out, but I applauded the decision to hire Brian Daboll. He already showed us his potential as a head coach in his first season as the New York Giants head coach, leading them to their only playoff victory since the Tom Coughlin-Eli Manning era, showing us the potential of Daniel Jones if he's actually placed in a situation to succeed, if he does have a running game to support him, and if he's placed in an offense that isn't, well, as terrible in pass blocking as usual, which the Giants have been a horrible pass blocking team throughout the Daniel Jones era, but we'll get to that in just a sec. Throughout the Schoen era, there were moves that were made that I could get behind. He made low-risk, high-reward trades like trading for Isaiah Simmons. He didn't have to give up much to get Isaiah Simmons. He traded a third-round pick for Darren Waller after Daniel Jones's breakout season. He traded a second-round pick for Brian Burns to further fortify the defensive line. But a lot of these moves have not panned out. And since all of these moves didn't pan out and you combine it with other moves that just look like huge mistakes, like selecting Evan Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau in the 2022 NFL draft. I mean, you just look at Joe Schoen's draft history, you kind of get worried that now that he has the opportunity to select his own quarterback, it's probably going to get even worse. I mean, it just hasn't looked good with Schoen as a talent evaluator. And the New York Giants haven't had a good draft in a very long time. I mean, don't get me wrong, Malik Nabers is a stud. Dexter Lawrence was a great pick in the 2019 NFL draft, but that wasn't Schoen's pick. Xavier McKinney was a great pick in the second round of the 2020 NFL draft, but Schoen just let him walk to the Green Bay Packers, and he did this past weekend. And that's overshadowed by the fact that he let Saquon Barkley leave and join the Philadelphia Eagles, which is even more embarrassing because he apparently thought that the Eagles were out on Saquon. And even as a fan of the Cowboys, I hate how Saquon Barkley is an Eagle because now he has Jalen Hurts saying stuff like this.
You know, momentum is the fakest thing out there because it can end and begin at any moment.
Okay, Jalen Hurts was always saying stuff like that. But it's really embarrassing when you have your general manager on TV thinking that a team is out on Saquon Barkley.
Saquon thing.
I just got a text that Chicago's driving the price up and Philly's out. I don't know if that's true or not.
I have a tough time sleeping if Saquon goes to Philadelphia, I'll tell you that. Most popular player we have by far. Yeah.
And then finding out that he is going to sign with your division rival. Not only is he signing with your division rival, but he is having the best season of his career with your division rival. Look, I know I memed the Philadelphia Eagles mercilessly once they signed Saquon Barkley, saying he was going to be the next coming of DeMarco Murray. I even said it on this channel. If Saquon Barkley isn't able to stay healthy, then this is going to be one of the worst signings in NFL history. But he's been able to stay healthy, and the Philadelphia Eagles have an incredible offensive line. They have one of the most talented wide receiver cores in the NFL and a dual threat QB under center. So it only took Saquon Barkley 11 games to have the most rushing yards he's ever had in his entire career. At the time we're recording this video, Saquon Barkley is a legitimate MVP candidate. I mean, this past week 1 without Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley outgained his former team. That's just insane. And originally I would defend keeping Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll because I think Brian Daboll is a great coach and I could understand the decision Schoen has made. But at a specific point, when you get embarrassed this much, this consistently, I mean, ownership just won't be able to take this anymore. How are you supposed to defend this tandem when things like this are happening? On every single video I've ever made that pertains to the New York Giants, I've remained adamant that keeping Saquon Barkley wouldn't have made that much of a difference. He would have had another season like last year when he averaged 3.9 yards per carry or 4.4 yards per carry, which is still serviceable, but not at the price that you wanted to bring him back for. But at the very least, I would have liked the Giants to have signed him to an extension in the 2023 season and then trade him to a contending team, at least get something in return for one of the best running backs in the NFL. God damn. It's moves like this that really start to add up and really start to pile on. It's not the fact that Saquon Barkley could have made the Giants a potential playoff contender, because let's be honest, he wouldn't have. There's so many glaring issues with the New York Giants that it would not have mattered. It's the fact that you're letting your most popular player and your best player just walk to your division rival for free. Now, fans think that this was done to keep Daniel Jones, but when Daniel Jones was extended, he still signed a below market contract, and it was based upon his potential. And at the time, I defended it because either Daniel Jones fulfills his potential or Daniel Jones is your bridge quarterback going into your next QB while you build the team around him. At the very minimum, he's a great tank commander, and that's all you could ask for. But the Giants opted for neither, and this is where it gets confusing. You see, the Giants kind of went all in on Daniel Jones, but that's because they didn't really have a choice. They drafted Malik Nabers with the 5th overall pick, who didn't really seem exactly stoked to play with Daniel Jones. Didn't even get his name right when he got drafted.
Talked with Daniel Jones yet?
I actually did talk to Daniel Jones. He was just like, I'm happy that you're here. We're gonna hit the ground running, and then he's gonna learn about me. I'm gonna learn about him, and we're gonna get together.
He ended a live stream when Caleb Williams brought him up.
What's the QB at Giants?
But one of my favorite things about Malik Nabers is the fact that he's been very outspoken throughout his experience as a football player. And to be honest, he said this from the very get-go. I mean, going all the way back to the draft process, Malik Nabers was asked what he hates the most, and he said this.
How do you handle losing? Be straight.
Not at all. I really hate it. Okay. I hate losing more than I love winning.
Okay, and then how do you handle not being involved early in the game?
How do I handle it?
Yeah.
I handle it pretty tough, especially, during the week.
That's what I'm looking for.
Been in the offense, in the week, putting in the work with the one offense, getting a lot of plays, known to be called for me. So if I'm not in those plays and not getting the ball, I'm pretty hard on it.
I don't mind that. I want guys that want to get the ball, and I want guys that hate losing, but you got to learn how to harness that a little bit.
Right.
I don't mind the competitive juice, man. You need some dogs.
Right.
I want guys that want the ball.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes you lose. I lose it too as a coach, but got to learn how to harness that good.
Gotcha.
And he's always been outspoken. That's just who Malik Nabers is, and it's a beautiful thing. I actually really appreciate it, and this is not going to be a YouTube channel that's going to distort what Malik Nabers says, because we need this type of transparency. It's very refreshing to have a player actually tell us what's going on. Originally, I thought Malik Nabers just hated Daniel Jones. I mean, how could you not when you're saying stuff like this?
Just look over the film, see what ways we can give me the ball in space. Daniel said he was trying to give me the ball. He saw a lot of pressure in his face, so I can't control that. So
or this.
Nah, nothing really different. Watch the target tape. That was it. I was open.
But alas, it doesn't seem like it's that at all. I think it's the fact that Malik Nabers really just hates losing. We know what would happen. Last week, Daniel Jones was demoted to quarterback number 4. Tommy DeVito was inserted at QB number 1. This was despite Drew Lock getting paid $5 million to be the starting QB this year. The reason they chose DeVito over Lock is because they didn't want to pay Drew Lock his incentives, which is just insane considering the fact that I know this is gonna sound really bizarre, but Drew Lock could potentially be your bridge quarterback next year. I think it's worth putting him in to determine that, with all due respect. The odds of him being your starting QB next year, slim, but is it worth putting him in to determine that? Absolutely, especially when you consider the fact that this year's quarterback class in free agency and in the NFL draft is obscenely thin. I understand the names sound really exciting. Shedeur Sanders, Cam Thomas, Carson Beck. But these are all players that are projected to be average day one starters, which is still good, but it's not anything really worth going all in for. You're better off building up the other aspects of your team and then signing a player like Justin Fields or Sam Darnold in the offseason for 2 years, having him be your bridge QB and see what you have in them there. But they decided to put in Tommy DeVito for whatever reason, probably just to tank and so they don't have to pay Drew Lock more. And the game was an absolute embarrassment. You want to see Malik Nabers pissed off? Take a look at this. He starts by coming in and calling his own team soft.
How disappointed are you?
Very.
What are you most disappointed about?
Soft, man. I'm tired of going out there and losing. It's just that. I don't know, bro.
And then when he asked how the game went, he said it was pretty much the same as when they had Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones wasn't the problem.
It ain't the quarterback. Same outcome when we had DJ at quarterback. Take a look. It ain't the quarterback. I don't know what it is. Everybody know better than me. I know I'm tired of losing.
Which is crazy because you thought that Malik Nabers hated Daniel Jones, but that wasn't the case. He just wanted to win, and it makes a lot of sense. You guys remember that clip I showed you in our previous video? I'll show it to you guys again, where Malik Nabers was literally pointing to a wide open Darius Slayton. It seems like he's the ultimate team player that just gets really frustrated and transparent when he's upset that the team is losing, but it gets pretty spicy here because Malik Nabers indirectly calls out his team, especially when he says this.
Go out there first, second quarter, don't get the ball, start getting targets at the end. Can't do nothing. Start getting the ball when it's 30-0. What you want me to do?
Why in the first half are they not looking at you?
I don't know. Talk to Dave about that. Talk to Dave. They know. They come up to me, ask me what plays I want. That was that. I don't know, man.
Now, you might be wondering what he's discussing here. The New York Giants did not draw up a single play for their best offensive player in the entire first half against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And in the second half, they started to do that.
Down 23-0. Right here, right there, and all right, there he is, 8 yards. It's not really that hard. First 3 plays of the third quarter to Malik Nabers. He's their best player. How hard is it to get Malik Nabers the football? It just isn't.
And would you look at that? The game started picking up a little bit for the New York Giants.
I still stand on what I said.
I said it. I don't have no regrets with what I said. But like I said, as I look at the film, we just lack technique.
Now, this is even more bizarre when you consider the fact that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the third worst passing defense in the entire NFL, with an average of 264.1 pass yards allowed per game, 20 pass TDs allowed so far. Their rushing defense is significantly better than their passing defense. They're the 16th best rushing defense in the NFL. Now, what am I getting at here? At a specific point, you have to take a step back and really figure out whose fault is it here? Who is failing the organization the most? Is it a coaching problem? Is it a talent acquisition problem? And all of these are starting to lead me into believing that Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen just really don't know what they're doing. And I really wanted to believe in Daboll because in his first year, he was incredible. It was a breath of fresh air. But it's just the combination of these two, plus the embarrassment that is coming on to the Giants organization, is just too much at a specific point. And the cutting of Daniel Jones is just the latest entry in this list. I mean, he hasn't had the greatest tape with the New York Giants, but there's enough for you to sit back and wonder, is it a Daniel Jones problem or is it a New York Giants problem? It's enough for him to get another opportunity for a coach to really identify that. And there's a lot of teams that are interested in his services. For example, Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell discussed potential interest in Daniel Jones.
I'm sure he's working through that process right now, but I really can't get into too much about any short-term or long-term. I can just say I've been a fan of Daniel's for a long time and hope wherever his next stop takes him, it's a good opportunity for him.
Probably didn't want to get caught tampering at this point, but if you just take a look at the teams that are interested in Daniel Jones, it just seems like there's so much potential for Daniel Jones to have like a Baker Mayfield-like resurgence this year. He just has to be very intelligent about what team he ends up signing with. And there are two particular teams that I think make the most sense for him. The first being the San Francisco 49ers. This has been a team that on paper is one of the best teams in the NFL, but injuries always get in their way. And in the first year of the Brock Purdy era, this team literally saw 3 of its starting quarterbacks go down with injury. If that doesn't work, then Daniel Jones still has incredible choices. You could go to the Minnesota Vikings, where Sam Darnold has been hampered by an injury, and they don't really have a backup QB behind Sam Darnold. They only have Nick Mullins, who came in for a few snaps against the Chicago Bears. But at this point, I have so much faith in Kevin O'Connell as a head coach and as a quarterback whisperer, and the fact that you have TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, and Justin Jefferson to throw the football to on a team that is potentially a Super Bowl contender with one of the best defenses in the NFL, that's just too much to pass up. And I would say the Vikings should be the top option on Daniel Jones's list, because there's also the chance that Sam Darnold leaves in free agency. And once that happens, you have JJ McCarthy waiting in the wings, but he recently got another procedure on his knee, so he might miss a little bit of the season next year. So this gives you an opportunity as well. If JJ McCarthy is injured next year, you could potentially be Sam Darnold 2.0 and also make your front office look even dumber. But if that doesn't work, the San Francisco 49ers will probably be the second most attractive option. The 49ers have had a tough season this year, man. I mean, it's just so sad to see. And they've really been resilient, trying to roll with the punches, and it's really impressive. I mean, they didn't have Christian McCaffrey up until a week ago. Jordan Mason stepped in and was amazing. They lost Brandon Ayuk for the season. They don't have Nick Bosa, Charvarius Ward, Brock Purdy currently. Kyle Shanahan has always been very quarterback friendly, and Sam Darnold even was a 49er once upon a time. This team always could use quarterback depth, and they currently don't have a starting QB for week 12 against the Packers. Now, I don't know how quickly Daniel Jones will be able to sign with the 49ers and immediately make a difference for them, but you gotta say, these are two very attractive options. I mean, compared to what Baker Mayfield had to work with 2 years ago, I mean, Baker signed with the LA Rams that had virtually no playoff hopes. Daniel Jones is in a scenario where he could sign with a contending team, work with a brilliant head coach, play the best football of his career, and play meaningful football games with the best supporting cast he's ever had. Everything can change for Daniel Jones based off of how he plays this out. He just has to be very intelligent. What did Baker Mayfield do after signing with the Los Angeles Rams and having a great run briefly with them? Well, he reached out to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and asked if he could compete for the quarterback position on a prove-it deal, because the Buccaneers had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin as their wide receivers. That is called being intelligent. That is how you manage your career. At the end of the day, man, I think there's a chance that Daniel Jones can save himself. There's a really good chance, and it depends on how he plays this. And in my opinion, he played it as brilliantly as he possibly could. You see, see, Daniel Jones had the opportunity to go to the Las Vegas Raiders and start right away, but he ruled them out, and you don't really need to be a genius to figure out why. The Las Vegas Raiders currently aren't that much different than the New York Giants. Sure, Daniel Jones will get the opportunity to start right away, but going into an offseason where he's going to be a free agent, if he starts for the Raiders, then no other team is ever going to take a chance on him ever again. Similarly to how Baker Mayfield got traded to the Panthers and underperformed for the Panthers. Daniel Jones needed to sign with a team that would have him sit down, potentially learn the offense, and eventually put him in a role where he could succeed. And in my opinion, he chose the right team. According to Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, and Tom Pelissaro, Daniel Jones is going to sign with the Minnesota Vikings practice squad after his release from the Giants. Now, Ian Rappaport said this is an easy decision for the Vikings, just a practice squad spot, so it costs them nothing. They only have one QB under contract for 2025, so perhaps it works not only now, but for the future. It doesn't rule out a Sam Darnold return, but it's just insurance. So pretty much the Minnesota Vikings have a contingency plan in the event that Sam Darnold gets a huge offer from another team in free agency. And in my opinion, he's going to get a big offer from another team in free agency. It's not only because Sam Darnold has had a remarkable year so far, it's because this year's quarterback class for free agency and for the NFL draft is very underwhelming. And this isn't just to insult this free agency class. I mean, you go back last year, you had the option to sign Russell Wilson on a veteran minimum contract, or select Caleb Williams, or Drake May, or Jaden Daniels, or Bo Nix. I mean, it was a really good year to try to get a new quarterback. But this year, you have the opportunity to get a quarterback like maybe Justin Fields, Sam Darnold, Shedeur Sanders, who is graded as a pretty solid above average day one starter. Cam Thomas, who could be a difference maker, but this year's draft class and this year's free agency class, at least in terms of quarterbacks, aren't as exciting as last year's. And Sam Darnold is arguably one of the better players you could get. If he gets big money to be a bridge quarterback somewhere, he's certainly going to take it. So having Daniel Jones waiting in the wings in the event that you need another backup QB is brilliant. It gives Daniel Jones an opportunity to learn the Minnesota Vikings system. And when you consider the fact that JJ McCarthy could quite possibly miss the beginning of next year, it's the perfect situation for Daniel Jones to come in, play a handful of games, throw a bunch of touchdowns to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson, and have Kevin O'Connell save another former draft bust's career. I think in terms of opportunity and fit, this is probably the best scenario for Daniel Jones, and it makes a lot of sense for the Minnesota Vikings as well. Let me know in the comment section down below, do you think Daniel Jones should have went to the San Francisco 49ers or the Las Vegas Raiders? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.